Hello, hello, coming to you live from around the world. Me from Las Palmas, Guilherme from Portugal, and Vladimir from Thailand. Today we are with you to discuss all the great announcements that AWS had on the past reInvent in 2025. Vladimir, Guilherme, any welcome words?
You first, Vlad.
It's a good idea. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for your time. We don't know it's late for you or it's lunchtime for you. So if you want to chat, please tell us where you're from.
Great. And hello, everybody. It's nice to be here discussing what AWS launched in the past months or past weeks. Our intention here is to translate everything into simple English words and help you to use the latest launches, right, Andrei?
Yes. Let's jump straight into it because there is a lot. And we did pick up some of topics that we think all of us can benefit from. We call them use you can use. And we jump in with Amazon S3 block public access, which is a very long feature name, but the essence here is that you can now finally enable it on organizational level, because in 2026 or 2025, there's like no good reason to have public S3 buckets. So you can just turn it off on organizational level and forget about it. Before that, you was able to enable it on bucket level and account level. Now you can do it on organizational level.
Basically, you don't need to discuss it with anyone. If you have a child accounts, you can just enforce it.
Just do it. Yes, just
do it.
I like it. Democracy, right? Just enforce it.
Like if you don't want to be like on the S3 leak reward list, or like whatever it's the joke combination they have. This one, that's basically AWS telling you, yes, US East 1 will go down. We know about that. You should expect that. So if you're managing your Route 53, which is in US East 1, you can tick the box, and they will commit to 60-minute recovery time objective for your DNS, so you can switch around. So that will make a recovery a little bit faster, and will remove the guesswork for you. This one is very exciting. Exciting for the security nerds and us. And the new VPC encryption controls, basically that allows you to monitor for plain text traffic in your VPC, so you can spot it, but it can also transparently encrypt it if you are running on Nitro instances. So the most common use case for this, you have your load balancer, it's all encrypted when it comes in, and 90% of the people will have traffic coming out of the load balancer to its target as unencrypted. Now you can actually switch that on, and that will be encrypted by the AWS for you. So you don't need to do anything, that will be encrypted. That's my understanding of that feature. I honestly haven't enabled it yet, but I definitely will.
You also, if you want to save this information in VPC flow logs, we have to adjust the format of logs. And after we will see the whole thing in VPC flow logs, is encrypted or not. If you have any kind of same solution which analyzes flow logs, you can know.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's a good addition.
Yeah, but the format changing is a bit annoying. But
Yes. This one is also very straightforward. So you basically have ancestor tree for your IMIs that you build. So if you run EC2, time to time you want to know what IMI was built from. And like we had a couple of months ago, we had a situation where the person built the IMI and he has no idea what it built from. With that feature, you can actually know and track it back. Cool. Service quotas. Automatic management. So now instead of just running head wall into the service quota, that's supposed to happen automatically somehow for you. Maybe you will get the support case created automatically for you, and that might get resolved eventually. We did a poll of the people who signed up for the webinar, and we asked to choose the categories what the people want to hear of. And the most upvoted one was MLI, obviously. So let's jump in. All right, so that's still me. The tiers in Bedrock. So in Bedrock, before the reinvent, you had only one tier, just like the flat rate, API rate that you get for the requests. Now you have 3 tiers. So you have a priority tier. You don't need to wait if the service gets busy. So you pay more. You have a standard, what you was paying. And you also have flex, I think it's called, where you pay less, but you would have to wait for the rest. So for instance, if you do the batch processing or you do something in the background, you can actually save money on tokens and have and use flex tier. I wish the Strands agents, the AWS framework, would support it soon, because right now they're not aware of it. Moving on, Amazon Nova 2. Anyone wants to say anything about Nova?
It's a second version. I believe it's better, nicer, cooler, and so on. But I guess we need to run a benchmarks to understand is the true advantage of every model just on numbers.
Yes. Amazon wants you to know that they have foundational models. Now, it's a second version of that foundational model. I haven't seen that being used widely, to be honest, but I see what I see, so the world is big.
I think that most of the usage will be in the fine-tuning and using as supervised fine-tuners inside the Bedrock and SageMakers.
Yes.
So this may be the most use cases.
That's what it actually brings us to this one, because what you can do now, which I think is very interesting, you can take Amazon Nova models and you create your own models out of Nova. So you can transform them. Or I'm not really sure what the technique is being used there, or is it like some kind of distillation with reinforced learning or what? But here it's actually there, like continued pre-training. That's what you can do now, and you get your own model that will be fine-tuned for your own case, which is interesting. And you can do that now with Amazon Nova Forge. The Bedrock adds reinforcement fine-tuning. Vladimir, what do you have to say about that one?
Yeah, sure. I think there's a main reason for having all of these Nova models to create another models from the models, and also leverage the Bedrock itself, because it will allow us to serve as an interface of these custom models. But this one exactly, it's for improving existing reinforcement learning principles and address the common challenge in that world is to get a consistently output that align with the builder's business requirements. It's basically what you need. You need to the model speak your language. For example, you have a business that sells T-shirts and you want the model talks about T-shirts. And this way what Bedrock offers us, it's much cheaper and much affordable and cheaper and faster, whatever way of doing this. And it will deliver 66 accuracy gain over the base models. You basically can get the Nova, add your data, and get much better accuracy. So I suggest to try everyone who's gonna implement AI in whatever service they have. I guess every CEO now wants, let's put AI in our tool. So reinforcement fine-tuning from Bedrock will help you.
Right. Amazon S3 vectors. So S3 vectors is a new flavor of S3 buckets. For a long time, we had S3 buckets, which was a blob storage. And then people start to use those, or you can say abuse those for analytics, where they would dump a lot of files and they would use Athena or Redshift serverless, or then what is called Redshift Spectrum to query this data on S3. And like S3 wasn't really built for that, so people were incurring a lot of API calls, and it was costly. Then last year they did S3 tables, which was like optimized S3 bucket version for the analytics, and it was like supporting Apache Iceberg and all other good stuff. This year, like, why to stop at one flavor? Now you have a third flavor of the Although they also have directory buckets, I believe, now, which are like super fast file access. And now you have forced, which is vectors, which allows you to basically store the vectors in S3 buckets, and then you can plug in those to the Bedrock knowledge bases, and here you have the ready-to-go rack system, which is very cost-efficient. So you basically generate the vectors, put them to S3 vectors, and actually the knowledge base can do it for you if you give it like the source bucket and you give the vector bucket as output bucket. Then the knowledge base can generate the vectors for you, and then you can query those vectors from the knowledge base, which again, like, it's very fast and it's very cost efficient to build racks this way.
Very, very serverless, even more serverless than open source serverless.
So like comparing to open source, like when I'm saying the cost efficient is way more cost efficient than serverless, for instance, the open source serverless.
I guess no compute to run. Yeah, of course, like it's feature-wise is a bit limited, but you can get a rack that need to be available eventually. So good option.
One thing that would prevent builders from using that one was the Terraform support. So the S3 buckets and knowledge bases, like the output as S3 vectors, were not supported. But this feature went GA, and you might have seen it before, might be surprised why we bring it now, because it went GA, it's more available in most of the regions, and now it actually has a very good Terraform support, so you can use it in the infrastructure as code. Amazon Bedrock Core adds quality evaluations and policy controls for deploying trusted agents. What is that, Vladimir?
Very important, because quality evaluations is the way how you can check that your agent is actually involving, because how you know the team delivered the next release today, for example, how it's different from the previous one, what is the tests for agents. This is a quality evaluation, so you can run them as a unit test, as an integration test, it's another test basically. That's for a model, because all the models generate unpredictable result and we try to measure it somehow. But with the Bedrock Agent Core, you get all the tools from the AWS. You don't need to create your own tooling. It's quite cool.
Yeah, nice thing about AWS that quite often they will give you like a good enough tools to get started. Like there are always will be vendors offering the most sophisticated tools to do that, but those are like the good enough tools to get started and to get you going with evaluations. And then eventually, when you are going and you know what you need, you can pivot and see like if you outgrow this tool. That's what we see with like startups, for instance, building on AWS. They usually start with the default AWS tools because they close the gap and they generally work. But eventually they outgrow some of those tools specific for their business case, and there they would go for specialized service. Like the same here. It's available, go use it, and as soon as you outgrow, there are other options that are more sophisticated.
You probably have to mention that there is a Bedrock agent thing and agent core. Please go to agent core, at least in my opinion. Just go to agent core. Skip the Bedrock agent thing.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit of failed experiment. Which brings us to Amazon Bedrock Agent Core. Would you continue, Vladimir?
Can do as we see on the screen. It's support direct code deployment, which is cool. Maybe it's give you a similar experience compared to AWS Lambda when you package your zip file, upload it, and it just happens magically. Or compared to AppRunner if you wish, so just not manage that CI thing anymore. In general, Agent Core runtime, it's give you like a model agnostic, framework agnostic runtime for running agent and tools. But it's a framework with AWS provide you with the Agent Core, the building blocks. So if you need to move fast, you can just build a couple of stuff with the Agent Core and then just show it to the world.
Yeah, so like comparing to, like if you compare your normal deployment options with an agent core runtime. So for instance, you want to host MCP server for your system on Amazon. You could go with, Lambda and API gateway, like the well-known primitives, or like the ECR, right? Or ECS, I meant, like the load balancer, ECS. That would work, but that would require you to set up all that infrastructure. This one is like App Runner. You basically give it the code of your MCP server and it runs it for you in optimized way for the MCP server. Let's get going. Compute. This is the time for Mr. Guillermo to shine.
Yes, let's talk about compute. What AWS brought us. The first one is Amazon ECR. We now have a storage class, so you can retire or can move the images to a different layer inside of ECR. This is a life cycle that you can configure, and then the images that are not used for a certain period of time will be moved to a different layer. This has been introduced in November. I see some customers already using this, so it's one of the features that you can start using now, right? There's no secret behind it. Just enable it. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I prefer to manage the images myself, right? So not let AWS manage this, because if you're not using the image, it means it shouldn't be there. But this is a nice feature if you want some sort of automation from AWS. This is my point of view.
I do like that one. Go ahead, Lon.
Yeah, it's also I agree. It's maybe just to reduce the cost of images which you don't use, but from the security perspective, you're supposed to remove the old one, because old images contains all vulnerabilities which you don't want anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a nice addition, but I think there are better ways of managing your images. That's my 2 cents. Next one, please. Now, the image signing, this is important, right? From a security and also compliance perspective. Now you can enforce it, and you can sign the images just to make sure the image has been built by your organization, for example, or using keys that you recognize as valid keys, right? Let's suppose somebody wants to run something in your cluster that are coming from another vendor or has been built by someone else. So you need to make sure the container doesn't contain threats and some other problems that might cause an issue in your infrastructure, so you can enforce it and make sure the image is signed with a source that you recognize as trustworthy. That's the main goal here, right, Andrei?
Yes. So like for people running on Kubernetes, like running the new pod there is one kubectl away. And developers can totally do that. So now you could actually have the policy that would enforce the fact that you only can run the signed images that's signed by you. And if there's someone trying to run something from the internet, that will be prohibited.
Yeah,
it's quite sad that AWS actually eliminate a couple of startups who are trying to do the same. And by simplify with signing with ECR, it's now, you don't need to do it. In the past, in the previous year, I set up a whole SIGINT stuff. I just think a bit sad now, because now everyone else don't need to do it anymore. But this is how it's supposed to be. I push to ECR and it's SIGINT automatically for me. I don't need to set up anything.
One thing that Guillermo mentioned, that like you can see that some of them in November, and you might think like, well, the reInvent is actually in December. So there are pre-invent announcements, and there are a lot of them happening in November. And then you will have another part happening during the reInvent, but they do announce a lot of stuff pre-reInvent, and there were like more than 500. We have way less here. We selected something we think is important to pay attention to.
Yeah. Just one thing here. So Andrei, the signing is only available where AWS Signer is available, right? I was reading this morning, right?
Yeah, it's correct. It says it's available in all regions, but the Signer itself is not available in all regions. Yeah, it's correct.
This is an important detail that sometimes we simply overlook, right?
Yeah, I guess you can sign and then do the replication of the image from the region where it was signed.
Trainium 3, maybe Vladimir wants to say something here.
Okay.
Is it a gym from AWS where you can go and train?
Oh, if you would like to use it as a push thing, because I guess it's heavy, because it's called ultra servers, so it's something big according to what they say in the numbers. These numbers are big and huge. But maybe the important point here is AWS make an evolution of their own chips, and they have less demand on NVIDIA or AMD companies here, which is quite nice because all the Trinium or Interferia in the past, it's much cheaper compared to NVIDIA in AWS, and give you equal or better performance, especially with ultra servers. But forget ultra servers, it's quite hard. You have to fill some support form, for example. I able to get only Trinium version 2 for my tests. But if you check the spot prices, EC2 spots for Trinium, you will be very, very surprised how cheap it is. And according to performance, what I get on my tests in the previous one, I assume that all these models providers like Anthropic, Claude, and so on, they use this infrastructure under the hood because they have agreement with AWS and AWS provides their chips. So if you need to host your private model, not a public one, you trade your own model, you need a reliable interface, this is your way. So go invest inside Trinium.
Yeah, to be honest with you, this is a little bit distant from 95% of the reality across the globe, right? In terms of cost and also how to manage this. I know AWS is investing a lot of money on this, but I think they are targeting Anthropic and the big players in the market, not us. So that's my point of view.
But the Trinium, the smallest Triniums, not the ultra servers, okay, not the ultra servers, they are affordable. I think some organization who would like to have AI capabilities in their app, inside the application, they can use it just to get a predictable cost.
Yeah. Cool. Next one, I think. Yes. Now EC2 M4 Max, the Mac instances are available in preview. This is handy if you are building iOS, macOS, iPad, and all Apple family stuff on AWS, and you want to provision something in the cloud, not locally, because in the past you were kind of forced to deploy Mac machines in your office and then run and build all this stuff locally. AWS launched this a couple of years ago. Now they are just upgrading the versions of the Apple Silicon computers. One thing that I was reading this morning, it's important to say here, when you spin up EC2 like this, you are forced to stay with the same instance for 24 hours. So you cannot stay like for just a couple of hours and then turn it off. AWS says this is because of how Apple managed the licensing.
Right.
So you have to pay 24 hours. But you are billed by the second, if not mistaken, but you have to pay at least 1 day.
Yeah.
I think this is everything to it. I think, Andrei, you mentioned, but yes.
Yeah, because there's a popular thing, the OpenClaw in the internet, and people are going to Apple Store to buy a Mac Mini and just put the OpenClaw there. You can rent a Mac Mini now. It's okay if you can try to run experiment for 24 hours. If you still like it, okay, you can go and buy it for sure. But if you don't, just pay for 24 hours and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an option. Cool. I think that the Crypto.com guy announced that now you can go to AI.com and rent it from him.
Yes.
All right. What is this thing?
Oh, this is the MCP, right? I think Vlad is the. Actually, I was reading. We had this before for ECS, right? Now EKS also added the MCP server. MCP is a hot topic in the market, right? Everybody's talking about MCP for a while. I myself been to the Silicon Valley where everybody was talking about MCPs. but there's security and some concerns around the MCPs, especially when you're running them locally. So AWS and a lot of cloud providers now are investing money and time in building MCPs remotely. So now you can have an MCP running in your cluster, and through the SDK, through some CLIs, you can talk to the MCP and query the MCP and ask things, and the MCP from the EKS will read the cluster, talk to the cluster, and give you back the answers. This is it's still in preview. I don't know if it's already GA. I don't think so. So yeah, this is one of the announcements, and I believe my colleagues have more context than me.
Pretty sure we're going to be testing it in February, because we do have customers running Kubernetes, and we do others, like we do quite a bit of AI, and that AI need to know what's inside Kubernetes. And your options before were to have some kind of proxy, so what you run inside the cluster, so it could speak to your agent to outside, or you would need, because you don't want to expose Kubernetes API server to the world, so people don't poke into that, your control plane. So you needed to have some way to connect to get the data from what's going on. And now your model, like your agent or Cloud Code or what have you, the Kira CLI, can do that through that MCP server that is managed by AWS, and they can get access to the data what's inside the Kubernetes cluster, which I think is very, very useful.
Yeah, there's a nice blog post wrote by AWS with a full picture and also an architectural, like a proposal that you can use using Kiro and using Cursor. You can both of them. So there's a nice blog post about that.
Moving on to the most exciting topic of the day, security. That was like the second voted, so you get what you asked for, but we're glad you voted for security, because that's what we like. Post-quantum key exchange. I think we can just go briefly through this one. It's available for the TL, for the load balancer, for the backup, and for many other places. I think Vlad mentioned that there is a couple of compliance frameworks that would require that in 2026. So
it's basically it's also required TLS 1.3 to be a post-quantum as well. And I hope all the cloud providers will reach post-quantum in 2026. I know one who is kind of behind, but AWS make a huge steps.
Right. The nice thing about this announcement is they actually bring up the main vector why people worry about that. It's like harvest now, decrypt later, meaning that there are a lot of players who are now just collecting the encrypted traffic that they cannot decrypt, hoping that when we are reaching the quantum computers, we will be able to decrypt it later. So that's why it's important that you don't wait with this for the quantum computers to arrive, but actually just turn it on today and forget about it. So you are quantum ready. Anyone? Control Tower introduces a control dedicated experience. I really like that they call it experience in Control Tower.
Yeah, I don't know. Seems like more marketing stuff, right?
I think it's maybe a bit of faster onboarding, if I understand correctly, to a Control Tower, where you can decide what you need. In the past, if I remember right, you can opt out CloudTrail if it's already done, for example, but here you can adopting recommendations from Control Tower gradually. This is a way how to get you with AWS landing zone, but it's a bit hard. But anyway, if Control Tower is hard for you or landing zone is hard for you, I know some guys who...
Yeah, you can just get controls without the landing zone. So hot. It's so hot that I'm starting to undress the hot topics we are discussing here. Another hot topic is AWS Control Tower supports automatic enrollment of accounts. I guess you've now been thinking, we thought it was kind of on already. We thought that as well. But yep, now it is on, as you thought it was. So, and I'm not really sure why it took so long, but now you will automatically have the accounts involved in the
Just
control tower.
make sure you're running the version 3.1, right?
At least, yeah. I think they just released the new version, I think. Amazon CloudWatch introduced unified data management and analytics for operation security and compliance. So I haven't looked into this personally, but my understanding of the feature is that now CloudWatch is able to collect the data for you from the whole organization, so you don't need to do this. So it's easier to do the same thing, basically.
Yes, this is correct. It's an open cybersecurity scheme framework. It's introduced by AWS themselves in this security hub, how it say, like security lake. Too many lakes, hubs in AWS. But in the past, it was on us, basically, to normalize and process the data from the CloudWatch to security lake. But now AWS will do it themselves, which is quite nice, because the only one thing what you need to do is put logs in CloudWatch, and you are done. That's much easier.
And open your pocket. Putting logs to CloudWatch. I mean, like the high volume logs, like the VPC flow logs, S3 access logs. That's not going to be cheap, I'm telling you. And then you're going to pay for conversion for every gigabyte.
It's every same solution. It's sometimes people underestimate the same. People think, oh, just the logs or whatever. It's a full ETL process which is involved in your organization. So, yeah.
Yeah, but what is the price that you pay when an incident happens and you don't have the logs? You need to think about that, right?
Yes. I mean, you need to collect logs one way or another. I would personally say that like collecting them to S3 and then like replicating that to the log archive account, that is the most straightforward way of doing it, like the most cost-efficient way of doing it. Though it's not the most straightforward way to set it up. This one offers you a more straightforward way to set it up in exchange for your cash. So you either work or you either play. What is this? Amazon Guard Duty adds extended threat detection for Amazon EC2 and Amazon ECS.
I think it was pre-invent. If I remember, I saw it. It's the integration with Guard Duty, right? It's a Guard Duty feature. But in the past, ECS and EC2 was already integrated with Guard Duty. It's a runtime protection. It's an additional plan in Guard Duty. But here, if I understand this again correctly, AWS bring AI and ML inside the whole thing. So maybe we will get more useful findings, maybe not. Who knows? Let's see.
Guard Duty usually is a little bit on the noisy side of intrusion detection systems. So if they will manage to bring the noise down level, I mean, if they will manage to bring level of the noise down using that will be already a win, because quite often Guard Duty might raise false positive. Again, Guard Duty is a nice thing to have. If you don't have anything else, Guard Duty is the way to go.
Yeah, the Guard Duty, especially plans, it's provide you a nice integration with all AWS services, RDS, EC2, ECS, Lambda, just by one click. So who else can do it?
We had our previous webinars recommending Guard Duty, like something that you enable the day one. We still recommend that. We just saying time to time it might be noisy, Mr. Vlad.
Database saving plans, the easiest one. So finally, we can get a saving plans for serverless in RDS, because there's no servers in RDS serverless, obviously, so you can't get any savings by reserved instances. And AWS introduces saving plans. Works exactly same as compute saving plans. Nothing new, nothing fancy, but just give you a discount. But maybe keep in mind that it's not like as a reserved instances where you actually get some instance in reserve for you. Here's just more about discounts and savings.
What I like about it that it scales across the classes of the databases. So like the same as a compute, like with the reserved instance, you need to select like the family of the instances and then like count them. And it was a very tedious process of doing so.
Yeah.
Amazon will give you some recommendations, but like here you just like, okay, I just commit to this level of spend, check your usage, check your coverage, add more.
It comes with a very nice UI feature where you open the UI and saving plans, and it's automatically calculate for you your baseline and your spikes, especially if you use serverless v2, it will always spiky. So it's calculate the baseline for you, which is perfect. I just did it maybe in less than 10 minutes, actually.
Yeah, so this is one is very welcome. It's like removes a lot of guesswork. And another thing, like it's like a tip for you when you're doing the saving plans. You don't have to commit to the whole thing straight away. Like if it tells you you need to commit to $1,000 for a year, what you can actually do is you can like slice it with a computer plan. So you can create one saving plan where you commit to 100, another saving where you commit to 100, and then you just add the increments on the 100. And like as you add or remove workloads, that will also adjust. That will help you to stay a little bit more flexible with saving plans. Anything from you, Guillermo, on the saving plans?
I was thinking here because if you have a company or if you're advising a customer, probably your customer already have reserved instances for RDS, right?
Yes.
And the saving plans will not have any effect if you have reserved instances because you're already paying a good price for it. So you have to wait until your reserved instances are expired, and then you can sign up for the saving plans. That's the not so positive side of it. You have to wait until everything's settled down, and then you can sign up for the saving plans.
That's a very valid observation, and that's why we don't have it in a use you can use category. Like we don't want you to rush and go buy saving plans, knowing that you might have the reserved instances.
Yeah.
What is this?
So, how much time you want to spend on that? But let's keep it short. So in the past, like I said, the problem is inside the database world because you want to mask and hide some data. For example, you don't want let every application know about emails or the social security numbers. They are inside the database, but not every app needs to know that. So there's a data masking approach. Before that update, it will require you to manage the solution, which is called PGDDM, which provide you a couple of roles, views, functions, which do it for you. Basically, it will get the source table with the PI storage, do like as a masking, put it inside the view, and then let your users talk to the view, but you also have to maintain the permissions to the view and the real table, and don't mix up everything. But here with PG masking, it's actually an extension. It's the power of PostgreSQL. It's a PG column mask extension, which comes to AWS world as well. I'm not quite sure, but I think AWS contribute quite a lot in that extension as well. AWS contribute a lot in the PostgreSQL in general. And here you can just make roles and the permissions and just write who must have access to what information, and you can make a different type of masking. For example, for the credit card numbers, you would like to show the last 4 digit usually, so you can do it with a partial masking feature. You can mask only the partial of information, which is basically what everyone wants. Just if you are work in with medical data or financial data, I highly recommend you to dig more inside PG mask.
Unless like you're using tokenization, where you would tokenize the data and store tokenized data in the database. Then like
but this is the exact case because you need to show the portion of a data. You would like to show it, but not all.
Yeah, and this is available in Aurora, right? Not the vanilla PostgreSQL, right?
I think it's an extension. So I believe you can do it in a PostgreSQL as well, but at least my default recommendation If you don't know what to choose inside AWS, Aurora, or the standard one, just go with Aurora by default, unless you're sure why you need a vanilla PostgreSQL.
Right. Let's continue with the networking. It's like a very straightforward category here. First announcement, AWS recognize that there are other cloud providers and there are people who might want to run on more than one cloud. And that's why now you will be able to have the interconnect with the GCP, which is Google Cloud Platform. And you might also have the Azure coming late in 2026. I would not do that. So, in my personal opinion, like don't connect anything to Azure. But yeah, like if you do AWS and GCP, now you can have a faster connectivity on a data center level. And if you have a latency sensitive workloads, that is for you. A private link extends cross-region connectivity to AWS services. So they did announce the cross-region private link connectivity. I think in 2024, then it went live. And yes, so now it supports even more services, even more regions. And I think you should consider using it, especially like if you are in a SaaS world. So if you're offering your customers the private connect possibility via VPC private link, now you don't need to host your workloads in every region where your potential customer might be. You can just centralize everything and use cross-region VPC private links for the connectivity, which is great. And I really like that they did that. Anyone knows anything about application load balancer, target optimizer?
I think it's it's a problem with load balancing in general, because we want to spread our load between the targets, obviously, but time to time the load is not spread in exact way same as we want. But here, I believe we can set the maximum number on the request per target. It can be complement the strategy when you scale it based on amount of requests per target. It's a target ECS, for example, you scale the amount of requests per target. And this metric is make more sense compared to CPU and RAM, because CPU can be high, RAM can be high, but who cares? We need to know the number of amount of requests. And this is provide you much clearer and much faster scaling. But here is a guarantee how many requests you can get on this target, so you don't overload the target. It's quite nice feature. I'm going to try it because I have a GraphQL endpoint in my project, which is beneficial of this.
All right. Now you can also not only optimize your targets, but you can also have the managed JVT verification. Before that, you needed to have the Lambda function as authorizer. No longer. Now it's supported out of the box from the application load balancer. So if the JVT is that something that you use or was planning to use, now your life got much easier. Consider checking that out. Network load balancer now supports weighted target groups. It's a great feature. I think it was available before, now it went GA, I believe. And it's very useful when you need to do a blue-green deployment, for instance. So you can shift traffic between the new targets and old targets using the weights. So a great feature and definitely will be used. AWS NAT Gateway now supports regional availability. How excited you are about that, Guillermo?
I'm not super excited. Oh, of course, I'm super excited.
Right. So I guess with this one, you can now deploy the NAT gateways to all your availability zones and pay a good buck to AWS by doing so.
I guess it's interesting in case of more than 3 AZ in some regions, or when you don't know how many AZs is there, or you don't want to know. So maybe that case.
If you try this feature in UAssist 1, you will very quickly realize how many availability zones is there, because you basically will be deploying 8, I think, not gateways. Last time I checked, and like all of them cost money. So yeah, it's kind of useful, but I'm not convinced everyone should be using it unless you definitely need it. This one is. And as actually there were like a number of announcements that were supporting the streaming across different services. It's all about running models, MCPs, like streaming responses from them, and that's no. It's just one of the example announcements. I think there were like around 5 of them. Like the similar, all the services supporting the streaming responses. I believe like Lambdas now support them as well. So you can do the models and the LLM agents easier, which they kind of give like the example in the overview here. And I believe that was all slides we had. And if you have any questions or want us to discuss any other feature in more details, jump to the chat and we can talk. There's a little bit of delay, so we will probably answer a question a bit later, but yes, please, we will stay behind. Also, if something is like got you excited, please let us know, because it's good to know that we are bringing something useful to you. For now, we can just keep talking while we're waiting for the questions.
Regarding the S3 vectors, I don't know if you can see it, Andrei.
Right, let's see. Yeah. There was a question. People say this.
Yes.
S3 vectors also has a disadvantage. It's not possible to use a hybrid search method as it's possible with OpenSearch, which is very true, and I do agree. So if you need hybrid search, then you need to do something else. But if you need like the plain RAG, then S3 vectors and knowledge bases are a good solution, which I believe Vladimir answered here.
Yeah, it's true, but it depends. It always depends. Like S3 vectors can give you an opportunity to experiment with RAG storages right away without experience of huge cost or without thinking about the compute. But hybrid search, yes, it's a huge benefit, of course. But at the moment when you need a hybrid search, you probably already validate your idea with a semantic search, and after you improve that results with a hybrid search.
All right, boys. Like, if you had to pick up one out of all of that, what would be your picks?
The easiest one or the hardest?
Like something that like is landing in your cup of tea, something that gets you excited, or something like you're saying, okay, I'm gonna go and use it today or tomorrow. What would it be?
I really liked the PostgreSQL row level protection. This is important, especially in the area I work with a customer in the US, because we are in a highly regulated market. So you need to protect PHI and PII information. So it's very nice to see that now you can do this in a more professional way instead of using a lot of tools. I really like it. And the ECR things that I mentioned, I think it's important. Just go there, enable stuff, signing, retiring images that you don't use anymore. So just go for it.
Vladimir, what's your picks?
So, my picks was already stolen, but I can mention, but I can mention the whole Trinium thing from AWS. I'm experimenting a lot with AWS Neuron, and I'm trying to run the private interfaces on this TRN EC2 instances, which is very affordable for my small budget for experiments, so I don't need to pay for NVIDIA. I like it.
Right. I guess
And
that
yours?
leaves me. I probably will just go with some simple stuff like that we had in use you can use. So the S3 public block, just enable it and forget. I can do it tomorrow, easy peasy. And also the VPC encryption monitoring. That's something that is immensely useful. Like for instance, if you tried to validate that you're actually encrypting the traffic in VPC, it's not that easy as it might sound. So like you need to set up the sniffing devices and observe the traffic, make sure it's not encrypted. It is a challenge. And now when you have out of the box solution where you just tick the box and that gives you back the artifact that you are compliant, I mean, like, what else to wish? It's so much headache going out to the trash bin. So definitely that one. I believe we have another slide which says thanks for watching, but we should also say that we're going to do more of those webinars. This one was the first webinar of the year. We will have a webinar every month, and next month I was told not to tell you what it's going to be about in details, but I will do my best to tease that it's going to be about ECS. Like we all like ECS. There was like a bunch of announcements about ECS that we haven't brought up, and yeah, so in a month we're gonna talk and spend 1 hour talking everything ECS, all the problems it can solve for you, and why you should be using it instead of, I don't know, running on a VPS and deploying your code using SCP.
Yeah, people still doing this. Yeah, people.
Yeah, like, you would be surprised. Anyhow, that would be it for today. I wish all of you the pleasant end of the day, and for you people watching in the future, thanks for watching till the end. Enjoy. Till next time. Bye bye.